All right, it's my pleasure to welcome you once again to another edition of Football Mania. Well, let's talk about the Euros for once, not Chelsea all the time. Now, last night, France faced Germany in what was billed the final before the final. Well, it was a group stage match, but it lived up to expectation. It was an incredible match, tactical battle everywhere, top players everywhere. Chelsea for once had 3 players on the pitch, talking about Rudiger, talking about Kai Havertz, and also N'Golo Kante. And then Timo Werner later came on as a substitute. So we had a total of 4 players, 3 players started that particular encounter. What actually happened in that game that caught my attention, and which is something I'm going to talk about today, is a tactical battle between the 2 coaches, the 2 managers, talking about Joachim Löw and Didier Deschamps. Joachim Löw started with 3-4-3, surprisingly, and then France maintained their usual 4-3-3 formation. So we get into the tactical battle between these 2 managers. What actually went wrong for Germany, because tactically they lost the plot. As I said, Germany started with 3-4-3 formation, Rudiger, Matt Hummels and Ginter as the center backs, Gosens and Kimmich as wing backs, Toni Kroos and Gundogan as the midfielders, Thomas Müller, Kai Havertz and Serge Gnabry as the attackers. France played with their usual shape 4-3-3, Varane and Kimpembe as the center backs, Hernandez and Pavard as the fullbacks, Kante as the holding midfielder, supported by Rabiot and Paul Pogba, Griezmann and Mbappe supporting Benzema in attack. On paper, one would think that 3-4-3 really suits Germany, but as I have always said, formation is very overrated and it doesn't really matter much in football. The delivery of the formation is everything, and that's where Germany manager Joachim Löw failed badly. The team selection was wrong to begin with. Kroos and Gundogan in midfield are a bit soft. I mean, they are soft in nature. They are not ball winners like N'Golo Kante. You need at least one ball winner, a player who can win you balls and who is very aggressive, especially when you are playing only 2 midfielders. I believe that he should have paired Kroos with Kimmich or Emre Can. Now, let's get into the tactical breakdown. One of the advantages of playing a wing-back formation or system is that it helps you to stretch the opponent with the wing-backs, create overload in midfield, and force them to defend, because you will definitely pin back their full-backs. For example, Chelsea also used this formation and it just won them the UEFA Champions League, and Conte also used it as well in Serie A and won the Serie A title with Inter Milan. Now, playing this formation 3 at the back system with wing backs, it looks easy, but delivering it to make it efficient in possession and out of possession is the hard part. And I thought that Germany couldn't deliver it as they should. First thing I noticed in the game was their inability to push the wing backs into advanced position, thereby allowing France to be comfortable to play their game, because they didn't have the need to reshuffle their setup to push their midfielders deeper or their fullbacks deeper. They played their normal game, and Germany allowed them to do that because they didn't apply the basic principles of 3 at the back system in that particular match. What actually went wrong for Germany? In my observation, they kept the number 10s outside. Müller, who is supposed to be the striker, coming a little bit deep, and because the number 10s were occupying the width, the wide areas, the wing backs couldn't advance as much as they can, because that means you're like occupying a position where you already have a player. So they didn't advance that high because the attackers, the number 10s, are already very high and wide. Now, what happens is it makes your shape a little bit defensive, and then you don't trouble the opponent with the advantages of having wing backs and also the advantages of having the number 10s inside to create overload in the middle. And that actually took the wing backs, their 2 wing backs, Kimmich and Gosens, out of the game entirely. They didn't do much. Now, if you look at the statistics, Gosens had only 3 crosses, while Kimmich had 7. That's just 10 crosses in a match that they dominated the possession of the ball. 62% of the possession against 38% that the French had. If you ask me, that's very, very poor return, because if you dominate the ball that much playing a wing-back system, you should be able to set your wing-backs free, and they should be able to influence the game in attack. They should be able to put more crosses in to make you look more dangerous. After all, you had Kai Havertz, who is tall, good in the air. Thomas Muller, who is tall, also very good in the air. You had to make use of your wing backs. You had to allow them to get in advanced positions, to get into the spaces, to put good balls in for you to attack and make you look dangerous, at least look dangerous. Cause your opponent a little bit of trouble, rattle them. The Germans didn't do that last night. Normally, if you are playing 3-4-3 instead of 3-5-2, the wide attackers play mostly as number 10s in the pocket, and the wing backs go very wide and should be in line with the number 10s or even ahead of the number 10s. It stretches your opponent, especially if they are not playing with the same setup, with the same three at the back system. Unfortunately, the Germans kept their number 10s inside, Muller coming deep, and the number 10s occupying the wide areas, and the wing backs couldn't advance as much as they can, automatically taking them out of the game. Like I've already said, clearly the ball weren't going to the wide areas enough because they didn't have the space. I'm talking about the wing backs. The team didn't create the space for them. The wing backs are the most important part of the wing-back system. If you can't get it right, if you can't let them influence the game, then your whole setup is already bound to fail. And that was what happened to Germany last night. They completely failed tactically. Rather, what they were doing, they kept going through the middle, where France had N'Golo Kante, Paul Pogba and Rabiot against just Gundogan and Toni Kroos. And those three completely dominated territory, completely dominated the two Germans because they didn't have the support. They didn't have the number 10s to create overload in the middle to make it 4v3, or the wing backs giving them support coming inside. Because if you can't bring the number 10s inside to create that overload, to keep the ball, to be able to keep the ball and use it well and create space wide, then you have to bring the wing backs inside to create overload. You have to. If you can't create a 4v3 in midfield, somehow you are always going to lose that midfield battle, especially where you have N'Golo Kante to deal with. N'Golo Kante is already two men in one. So that's numerical advantage already for France. So you need to counter that advantage. If you can't counter it, then you are going to fail. And tactically, I think Joachim had a very, very poor game. Before the match, I thought this formation really suited them. But then, by the end of the match, I thought they flawed that formation. It's such a beautiful formation to play with. Such a flexible formation. You can do everything with 3-4-3 formation or 3-5-2 formation. You can push one of the center backs into the midfield. You can defend 1v1. You can do basically anything on the pitch with that formation. Unfortunately, Germany couldn't do that. And I can't shout. I can't say how much I was disappointed in them. They really, really messed up and eventually lost 1-0 to France, who had better chances even with less possession. It was a very ugly performance by Germany. Some people felt that they were facing France, one of the best teams in the tournament. I have no argument about that. But Germany had tools. They had good players to cause France trouble. France were so comfortable. They didn't do anything out of the books. You need to force teams out of their normal characters. You need to force them to do something new. You need to make them think. You need to rattle them a little bit. I thought Germany was so easy to defend against, and that's because they didn't do what they should. Normally, a 3-4-3 or 3-5-2 formation facing a 4-3-3 formation, a three at the back system should be able to cause them a lot of troubles, with their movements and with the way they set up. They are going to have territory in midfield. They should have territory in midfield. They should have space in wide areas. They should be able to cause France a lot of problems yesterday if they played three at the back the right way. Hopefully they will do better in their next game. All right, I have come to the end of this tactical analysis. If you enjoy it, just hit the like button, the notification button, and then subscribe if you haven't. See you again next time.